तस्मा कारुण्य भावेन रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वर। शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू शांति पमाडे स्मरण हुफाळू शांति पमाडे स्मरण हुफाळू शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू। स्नेह सुधारस नयनोथी वहतू स्नेह सुधारस नयनोथी वहतू स्मित मधुरू प्रभु आधारे रहतू स्मित मधुरू प्रभु आधारे रहतू वत्सल वदननु तेज निराळू वत्सल वदननु तेज निराळू शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू। कालार घेला प्रभु शब्दोनी माळा कालार घेला प्रभु शब्दोनी माळा गुंथीने गाऊ हे ते स्तवन रूपाळा गुंथीने गाऊ हे ते स्तवन रूपाळा अगणित गुणला प्रभु केम रे विसारू अगणित गुणला प्रभु केम रे विसारू शांतिनाथ शांतिनाथ रटन रूपाळू। जिन राज करवे मारे नित्य आराधना जिन राज करवे मारे नित्य आराधना ले जो स्वीकारे वे अधूरी उपासना ले जो स्वीकारे एवी अधूरी उपासना बळ जो निरंतर शरण तमा
Jai Jinendra, everyone. Welcome to the evening. Hope you're all keeping well. We've just got few more minutes before we start the lecture. So just we could probably just have a few minutes talk and see how everybody's doing.
Arti, how are you? Jai Jinendra.
Sandeep bhai, good evening. How are you? I'm fine. Thank you, Jai Jinendra.
I'm all right. Thanks.
Yeah, just looking forward to the evening and the talk today.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be wonderful. If
Yes.
you've never heard Bina, then you are in for a treat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yes, looking forward to it. Yeah, just wanted to find out like how's everybody doing with COVID and the vaccines and what are your thoughts? Any queries?
So,
Don't ask that question.
Do,
That's right.
I
Ansia
and
Ben,
I'm probably opening
bolo.
a can of worms with this, but no, I'm like I'm not an expert to give any advice, but just wanted to know because it's such a divided topic at the moment, and just wanted to know what are people's thoughts. Are we like having vaccines, or has anybody had any reactions or anything?
So, fortunately, as I said, my mother-in-law's had both the vaccines, I mean, both the jabs.
Mm-hmm.
And because we've been making sure that we're taking extra supplementation, organic supplementation,
Okay.
she's not had, apart from the heaviness in the hand,
Mm-hmm.
had any other effects of the jab, which is very good. And she'll be 84 on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, happy
yeah,
birthday in
she's
advance
here.
to her.
She's here, and she doesn't look 84. There she
Hello.
is.
Jai Jinendra Ba.
જય જીનેન્દ્ર તમને
Kem cho?
બરાબર છો આ? સારું છે
Yeah. Okay.
So that's our take on the COVID.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even I've had my first jab about 4 weeks ago, and I've been like same little heaviness in the arm, and I've been perfectly fine.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess we have to do our bit, and we're at least lucky in this country we're getting the vaccines.
yeah. Do you work for the NHS or?
Yeah, I'm a dentist, so yeah, so I did get one.
Okay, okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
All
that
right.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. I think we are ready to start the evening. So Jai Jinendra, everyone. Welcome again. Hope you're all well. And we have got another wonderful evening today. As Sandeep Bhai said, we are in for a treat today. We have got Bina Ben from Nairobi, who is a very well respected and a learned teacher from SCVP Nairobi. So I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Bina Ben from all of us here today. And thank you for joining us. So before we begin our talk for this evening, can I please request Anusuya Ben to start the evening with our usual Naukar mantra?
Yeah.
Anusuya Ben, over to you.
Yeah. Namo Arahantaram, Namo Namo, Namo Sitaram, Namo Namo, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Namo, Namo Vachayanam, Namo Namo, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Namo Loye Savasahunam. Eso Panchanamokaro Savapavapanasano Mangalarancha Savesin Padamam Havai Mangalam Mangalarancha Savesin Padamam Havai Mangalam. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Anusuya Ben. That was lovely. Thank you for a good start. So may I now call upon our very own Sandeep Bhai to introduce Bina Ben for talk tonight. Sandeep Bhai?
Jai Jinendra, everyone. How are you all today on a very cold evening in London here? I hope you are all well. It is my privilege and my honor to introduce a very esteemed friend of mine, Bina from Nairobi. I have known Beena for about at least 20 years of my life, and she has been instrumental in me coming into Sri Chandna Vidyapith as a teacher many moons ago. She has been my mentor. She's somebody, I think we all the teachers in Sri Chandna Vidyapith look up to her, because her depth of knowledge and her amazing innate understanding is so great, and of course she has digested the whole message of Mahavir Bhagwan so wonderfully. So I really feel that we are in for a treat. She's going to introduce a very powerful and an important book by our own Gurudev Upadhyay Shri Amar Muniji Maharaj. And that book is really wonderful. It is a very practical way of looking at ourselves from a spiritual aspect. As the advertisement blurb said, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is for materialistic living, but this is for spiritual living, and how we can combine our daily life with an impact or rather an understanding of ourselves. So Beena is no stranger to this work. She has been teaching this in Nairobi. Beena herself has lectured extensively internationally. She has been instrumental in helping Sri Chandna Vidyapith all over Kenya. But apart from that, she has been invited a few times by Sadhviji to go and help out in Calcutta with Sri Chandna Vidyapith there. You will find out how great her knowledge is. However, before I hand over to Beena, I'd like to just quickly recite a prayer. So please, everybody, just keep your eyes closed. Srimad Girvana Chakra Skrutamukutati Divyamanikyamala Jyoti Jwala Karala Skruitamukurika Drushtapadar Vinde Vyadorolka Sahastra Jaladana Lashika Lola Pasham Kushade Om Krim Rim Mantra Rupe Kshapita Kalimale Rakshaman Devi Padme Rakshaman Devi Padme. Thank you, everyone. And now I hand over to Beena.
Jai Jinendra to everyone. And thank you for those kind words, Sandeep. Yes, we've been together for a long time. Thank you to Sandeep, Ketan Bhai and team for inviting me to speak and do an introduction to Amarvani. And I'm glad that you're going to study it. It is an invaluable treasury of thoughts, of meditations, and of exhortations of this great person. I'm sure you will enjoy exploring and discussing Pujya Amar Muniji's thoughts in depth, because they are extremely practical, and it's a new way of discovering Jain Dharma, which can touch you to the core when you realize through him that you belong to such a rich and profound heritage. I would like to make this an interactive session. So I will ask questions, so please do reply. At the same time, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to interrupt me and to ask your question. I will start off with a little brief on the author, Rashtra Sant Pujya Upadhyay Shri Amar Muniji. He was fondly known as Gurudev. He is one of the most revered and one of the brightest spiritual luminaries of the present day. He was a great seer, a saint, an enlightened, independent, liberal thinker, and a philosopher with a heightened intuition and an analytical mind. He was a spiritual scientist. He put whatever he wanted in practice. He had extraordinary qualities of compassion and detachment and a holistic understanding of the world. and an indomitable initiative to awaken this dormant potential within and without, that is within himself and also with everybody he met. From this title, Upadhyay, you can make out that he must have been a literary genius. He wrote more than 100 inspirational works, including articles, poems, essays, and critical reviews, books not only for adults, but also for children. So you can imagine that he could go down to the level of children. At the same time, his knowledge could inspire adults to do good things. He had a mastery of the Jain Agams and their subsidiary commentaries. So he had read throughout Bhashyas, Niryuktis, Churnis, all these commentaries which subsidiary acharyas wrote. He had read all of them. He had also studied in detail the scriptures of other religions, which include the Shad Darshan. Shad Darshan means Mimamsa, Vedant, Vedic, Nyaya, philosophy, Vaisheshik, and Sankhya. These are 6 Eastern darshans which originated in India. So he had a wide knowledge of all of them. And he has a very modern approach to religion and was beyond sectarian beliefs. And on top of that, his achar, his conduct of Panch Mahabharat was beyond reproach. Nobody could point a finger that there were any lapses in his conduct. As Pujya Sadhvi Sri Shlapiji has constantly shared with us, he was totally detached. For example, in the cold of Bihar, he was given a very expensive Pashmina shawl. And without a second thought, there was somebody who didn't have any blanket or any covering in that cold. Immediately, he removed his Pashmina shawl and gave it. Do you think we would do that? Apri paase Pashmina shawl hoy, an expensive one at that. Do you think apre koi ne dei shake? He just gave it without a second thought. When they went to Bihar, there were no amenities. And he was extremely popular. And Sadhviji shared with us that when they went to Delhi once, and Pujya Upadhyay was there from the plane when he went down, all the people gathered and went to him. And the other Sadhvijis were left behind. Nobody was bothered with them, but they were bothered with Gurudev only. But when he went to Bihar, there was nothing. There were just 4 walls there and there was no roof even, but he was quite at peace there. He didn't want anything. Detachment ketlu badu hase. At the same time, there was another example that she shared. Eye drops na khana tha to koi ke ear drops, eye drops ma nakhi dida. And dhyan nahi tha to he was laughing away so heartily. Apre koi eardrops, eye drops, eyes ma nakhi de to apru su thai. We would really get angry, mad at them, we would complain, and we would throw a few words at them. But look at him, he was just laughing out heartily. Such a mystic. He was a spiritual luminary, both by practice and precept. Imna lectures and nobody could really stand up when he was lecturing. He was so powerful. At the same time, he has inspired and influenced masses to follow Jain Dharma. And he had this amazing ability to bring together different sects under one. There were 32 different sampradayas at that time, and he had this convincing power to bring all of them under one. And all of them made him the leader of those of that one sect. On top of that, he had love for all, a person who could find a solution in any difficult state. And his heart was brimming with love, kindness, and compassion. Also, his respect for women, entitling Acharyaji and inspiring her to work in Bihar. And the motto of Viraitan, Seva, Shiksha, Sadhana, has actually come from Gurudev. All this points to such a realized soul. So to read him, to read such a person is indeed extremely fortunate for us. Now, my question to you is, why do you want to read, or what do you want to gain by reading Amarvani? Anybody? What do you want to gain by reading Amarvani? It's open.
Please, can you share your videos, even if you are on mute, so at least Beena can see your faces. And that way the session becomes more interactive. And also, if somebody can unmute and answer the question, please. Thank you.
Since I know Bhanuben, will you answer for me? Why do you want to study Amarvani?
Hello, Jai Jinendra Ben Bina.
Jai Jinendra.
Mainly તો મારે જાણવું છે કે આ ચોપડી શેના વિશે છે અને એમાંથી મને કઈ જાતનું ઇન્સ્પિરેશન મળશે કે આપણે આગળ વધીએ આમાં.
Very good. It can actually change our direction of life. It can actually give solutions to our problems. We have problems in life. We are frustrated. We are rushing around. We have problem with kids. We have internal turmoil constantly going on, conflicts constantly going on in our head. So this Amarvani is such a book that it will give you a solution to any of the problems. When you discuss it, it will be great. And our thoughts can also be changed. We can be influenced positively, and we can then hope to become a little bit like Amar Muniji. His interpretation of the Tirthankar Vani is with a truly modern approach and highlights the aspect of seva, which has not been forthcoming in other texts. So, sevanu I boj kese. Any scriptural reading that we undertake can settle our curiosity, inspire us to become seekers, because it shows the path of improving ourselves by showing the moksha marg. From Amarvani also, a true sadhak gets a lot of guidance. Everyone who has done this text with us says they have become more aware with respect to their feelings, their thoughts, their speech, and their actions. He gives a lot of day-to-day examples and anecdotes you can relate with. I will share some of that. The advantage also is its availability in English. The original text is in Hindi, but this translation is pretty good. I'm sure you've got it with you. But reading it on your own might be a tad bit difficult, but when someone connects it for you as a discussion, it will make all the difference. The other advantage of Amar Muniji's work is that it is beyond Panth, beyond Sampradaya. It's a divine message for humanity, so it is an excellent guide, a beacon light for all. The reflections that you will study, they have a universal approach to man in all conditions, in all places, at all times. And they cover all facets of life, whether individual, social, national, worldly, or universal. In the beginning, he raises a profound question that when it comes to filling out forms, that there's always a box for dharma or religion. And it asks you, which religion do you belong to? Many times he says, I've thought about it. For man to be Jain, Buddha, Sanatan, Muslim, or Christian, is it necessary? What is the need for this box? Can we not just be human? How can we forget our roots? So throughout this whole book, you will find that he concentrates on humanity. He does not classify any religion. He talks about humanity at large. All facets, so at the individual level, let's start at the individual level. Amar Muniji exhorts us to know ourselves, to know and realize the power and the attributes of our soul. જો આપણને પોતાનો આત્મા ના ખબર પડે, if we don't know who we are, how are we going to work in this world? He says, discover the beauty of the soul, the splendor of the soul, the glory. And there is nothing more glorious than the glory of the soul. To know and understand the universal moral order. This is very important, because if we know this, then it will impact on all our behavior. Individual, social, national, universal, all behavior is impacted by this. He gives an example in the book. He says, if a man bites you like a dog, and in revenge, you also bite him like a dog, is there any difference between you and him? Neither of you has risen above the level of the dog. Should not moral force be applied against brute force? Now, this example, where can you use it in your life? Where can we use moral force against brute force? Anybody? Am I sleepy? Am I having a sleepy class?
When somebody gets angry with you, you don't
Yes.
reciprocate by getting angry.
So what do you reciprocate with?
With love, with kindness, with humility,
Yes,
forgiveness.
very good. Very good. So that is the moral force that he's talking about. That whatever happens, and do we do this normally in life?
Yes. We try. We should.
We have to try. We have to try. We are human beings. We are at the highest level of consciousness. So we have to try and we have to improve our life. So he gives a lot of guidance throughout this book on how to improve life. And only if we know this moral order can we make our life true, good, and beautiful. This is essence of who we are. Satchit Anand, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. This is who we are. And we cannot escape from there because it's important to realize that why aren't we behaving like that? We are all seeking peace and happiness. Gurudev says its discovery and its realization is a great ideal for all of us. We are all seeking peace and happiness. Have we succeeded in achieving peace? My question to you, have we succeeded in achieving peace? Anyone?
You have to work at it every day. So
How do you work at it every day?
Through forgiveness and love. And you have to start with yourself.
Okay. But are we seeking peace in the right direction? Where do we seek peace?
So peace within, we're looking at peace and realizing or uncovering the layers so that we can reach our soul, our true self.
Very good. So he asks us, are our efforts misdirected? Is our peace via fulfillment of ever multiplying desires and acquisition of material power? He says real peace is to be discovered within the soul of man. And you don't have to go out anywhere to discover this peace. And each and every moment we can be peaceful, so long as we abide by the soul, or so long as we connect with the soul. So throughout this book, he will lay stress on curtailing desires, on working on our passions, and not to indulge in material pleasures. He says you are a soul.
Nina, can I, sorry, interrupt you?
Yes,
I have
yes.
a question.
Yes, please ask.
So, you talk about peace and looking within oneself, but you find that a lot of people seek peace by going into aprika adhyatmic path. So, I will go and listen to Sadhviji or Acharya Shri or any great spiritual leader who comes in. There are so many sects available. There is Sai Baba, and there is, so, you go and listen to all these great speakers who come, including Morari Bapu and all of that. So, but that piece that you go and listen to is only temporary for the 2 or 3 hours that you go and listen, or you might spend a weekend doing some sort of a workshop with them. But when you come out of it, you're back to normal, and you find that people are running from there to there to there, and they keep on saying, "Oh, I need peace, because inside themselves they are so unhappy. How do you cure that unhappiness within yourself? And how do you conquer it, basically?"
There's something from Chitrabanu that I will share with you. He said, inner growth is not a question of how much information you've acquired, but of how much you've practiced it. And he gives an example of eating. He says, you benefit not from how much food you've eaten or taken into your mouth, but how much you've actually been able to digest. Similarly, spiritual growth, progress, does not depend on how much knowledge we have, how many books we've read, but the experience itself. So as you say, you go on listening, But the thing is, can you put, if you don't digest it, if you don't imbibe it, if you don't assimilate it, you will not be able to make this your knowledge, and therefore you go to places, and therefore the life stays as it is. It does not improve, because we love listening, because it's another person talking and we're just listening. Unless and until we take one small thing from there, put it into life, put it into practice, that peace is not going to come. It's going to evade us. Sandip, does it make sense?
Thank you. Thank you.
Bina,
Yes.
Reshna,
Yeah.
that's how Samyak Nan, Samyak Darshan, and then Samyak Charitra comes into play then.
Yes,
Am
yes.
I right?
Yes. It is yours. It's your faith, your belief, your knowledge of your own Atma, and absorption in your Atma, which is Samyak Charitra, at a very high level, yes. But believing in the scriptures, believing in the Tirthankars, believing in the gurus who pass on this dharma, that is also Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gnan, and Samyak Charitra. So in both ways, yes. But sort of moving towards the soul and moving away from the mundane pleasures. Yes, Reshna? And he gives an example. Yes? Anybody? Okay. Upadhyayji gives an example here that you live in a palatial building, you have high domes and minarets, and you have windows and doors and gates, and there are curtains drawn, and your gates and windows are closed, and you're running like a lunatic from your one room to the other, crying that there is no sun there. Outside, there is a beautiful sun, there is a fresh breeze of wind, but you do not get anything inside. And you're inside, you're complaining that it's dark, it's damp, it's foul. So it says that, why don't you open the windows? Why don't you open the door? Why don't you open your curtains so that the light comes in, the spiritual light comes in? When we are too entwined in mundane things, we do not realize there is something out there which is different. So it says that do not be bound by these fetters of materialism and selfishness. Come out of it. There is a way out of it. And this darkness and dampness and foulness is our ignorance, our crying, our lamenting, our complaining, our jealousy, our ego. All this is very foul smelling. This is get rid of it. There is a way of spiritual light coming in. And then Upadhyayji time and again emphasizes us to awaken an intense desire for human service in our hearts. He constantly talks about merging the self in the life of humanity to develop fraternal feelings and cooperation. So Jain Dharma is not only about Swadharma, ki hu maru kalyan karilo, but it is actually your development is tied in with the service of humanity. Jan Kalyan. And a very beautiful example આપે છે. If there is a drop of water and there is an ocean. હવે a drop of water, it has got danger all around it because એક તો ઓલું bird ને, he wants to drink that drop, the earth wants to absorb it, the sun wants to dry it up, and the wind wants to blow it away. But if that drop of water loses its identity and becomes the ocean ને કાંઈ બીક નથી. There is no danger for this ocean. There are storms, there are tempests, the sun is scorching it, birds and animals are drinking from it, but there is no death of this ocean. The ocean remains as is. So Ama, what do you think Ikiva Mangechi? What is this drop and what is this ocean? Anyone?
Please answer, unless tam suigi auto.
Bina,
Yes.
I think the ocean is the, the gods, the Mari Swami, all the Tirthankars, and the drop is probably us.
In a way, the drop is us. when we become very limited, I and mine, we become very small. So this is expand yourself. As I said, he wants us to merge ourselves in the service of humanity. So I and mine is very small, and it translates to we and ours. Apne bada ek જ છે. And the only man who can sort of dissolve his, preserve his entity is this person who can dissolve himself and put it in the service of humanity. And as you said, that the Tirthankars have actually done that. They have been able to make everyone as one. They have been able to serve everyone. Some of us become very sort of constricted within ourselves. Maru and Mari family, and that's it. But he says, expand yourself to the outside, to the humanity at large. He says, see yourself in everyone. Each one of us wants happiness. Each one of us escapes from dukh or avoids dukh. Abadu soul jyan hoy, atma jyan hoy, any aj quality hoy. They want peace and happiness, and they want to be away from dukh. So see yourself in everyone. Find your good in the good of all. He says, wherever there is hunger, wherever there is poverty, wherever there is want, you go and uplift that. Learn to live for others. His very, very strong message is learn to live for others. And he gives an example of nature. Sun and moon, it gives you light. Does it expect anything in return? What about the fruits and the flowers? They hang on the trees, but does the tree use them? It gives out to everybody else. The rivers are ceaselessly flowing, but do they want anything from anybody else? They are just flowing. So nature just gives. So why can't we? At the topmost of human consciousness, at the topmost of the ladder of living beings, we are at the topmost. So apre kem na just dai shake. So he's very strong about this. He says that.
Can I ask that, આપણા જૈન ધર્મમાં આપણે એમ કહીએ કે મારું કલ્યાણ થાય, મારા આત્માનું કલ્યાણ થાય, મને ઉદ્ધારો આમાંથી, આ જન્મ મરણના ફેરામાંથી. પણ આ મરવાની જે કહે છે એ તો જગતના કલ્યાણ માટે કહે છે. So how does our religion then change or adapt to what he is trying to say? કે મારું કલ્યાણ નહીં, પણ જગતનું કલ્યાણ.
Religion has to adopt. There are times when the religion becomes very constricted, but religion is dynamic. Je potanu vichar kari shake. As I said, he was a liberal thinker. He looked at the situation then, and it's even given in Uttaradhyayan ke tame seva karo to tamne sukh prapt thai. What is the benefit of doing seva? Now, Uttaradhyayan is the last sermon of Bhagwan Mahavir. So ત્યાં બી ભગવાન મહાવીરને પૂછેલું છે કે સેવા કરવાથી શું થાય? તો ભગવાને કીધું સેવા કરવાથી તીર્થંકર નામ કર્મ બંધાય. So you can imagine that seva has always been there. At some point of time in the history of Jain Dharma, it might have taken on a lesser position. But now Gurudev is bringing it out again, saying that you must do seva to humanity. Because તમારું જ્યારે બીજા સાથે બીજાની માટે તમે કરો ત્યારે પોતાનું ખીલે છે. You awaken, you develop yourself when you do for others. આપણે પોતાનું કરીએ તો ના થાય એટલું. ભાનુબેન, were you asking that?
Yes, that's I was asking that કેમ selfishness થઈ જાય આમાં કે મારું જ સારું થવું.
Jain Dharma selfish છે જ નહીં. And we must get it out of our heads કે selfish છે, કારણ કે છે જ નહીં. There is no iota of selfishness in Jain Dharma. પોતાનું બીજાનું બધાનું કરવાનું છે, not just for oneself. At the same time,
can't we also, sorry Beena, can't we take Mahavir Swami as an example? When he achieved Keval Gnan, he went around preaching. He didn't need to go around preaching, but એને વિશ્વ કલ્યાણ માટે એને preaching કર્યું છે ને.
Yes, અને આ કરુણાનો ભાવ, compassion ભાવ is within the soul. અને જ્યાં સુધી એ awaken ના થાય, જ્યાં સુધી આપણો friendship center awaken ના થાય, we cannot be religious, we cannot be dharmic, we cannot be adhyatmic. નહીં થાય. We all have to awaken that center, that emotion within us. And it can be cultivated or it can come naturally. But જ્યારે naturally આવે ત્યારે સેવા થતી જ જાય. અને આપણને જો કલ્ટિવેટ કરવું પડે તો કરવું જ જોઈએ. We must take that opportunity to cultivate. એટલે એ beautifully કહે છે કે the best thing wherever you live, whatever circumstances you live under, weave a small circle of social service and render all the service you can with the means available. If unfortunately you don't have the buddhi or the capacity to do this, to serve others, or you're not in a position to do so, at least forbear from doing this service to others. If you cannot make others laugh, at least don't make them weep. If you cannot bless others, at least don't curse them, don't abuse them. Powerfully said this. કે તમારાથી થાતું હોય એટલું કરો જ, service કરો જ to others. He's very, very powerful in this book. Any questions?
Yeah, Bina, Rita here. Jai Jinendra.
Jinendra.
Really important because our world, we don't live on our own. We need everyone. We need, like Thai Maharaj says, we need everything. We need food to eat, for example. Yeah, so
exactly. We are not single entities. We depend on everybody else, so we must do service to others. Very well said, Rita. Very well. Anybody else?
The other point, sorry, there was one more point I wanted to bring out, which sort of comes to my mind is, okay, we do feel sometimes sorry for people, but what Gurudev in that example of a drop in the ocean is that you have to actually help people, if there is need to help. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, તમારી પાસે capability હોય અને amenities હોય તો you must help. આપણું જે અતિથિ સંવિભાગ વ્રત છે, the 12th vow for a Shravak, it is talking about this, is share whatever you have with others, not only things, but even your time, even your talent, whatever you have, you share with others. It's very important. This concept of service is extremely important. Good, Rita. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay. Another question that he ponders for us: in what ways would you say scientific progress and civilization has been hollow and futile? Scientific progress has done a lot. It has explored the skies, discovered the earth. It has fathomed the oceans. The hidden power of the atom has come out. Nuclear weapons, but શું એમાં fallback છે? What is one thing which it hasn't been able to do? Anybody?
Ansia here. I think they have not been able to talk about Atma or realizing the soul. They're not able to actually, they have discovered the atom and even the nano whatever, everything, but it's that soul that is that bridge between the material and the non-material.
Very true. So what Gurudev says is that in the pursuit of scientific progress and civilization, we have lost sight of our essential human nature and the power of the soul. And that's why the world has become more materialistic. We've not been able to discover and understand our own self and our fellow men. Even Albert Einstein had this to say. He says, I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction and the world will have a generation of idiots. Unfortunately, in COVID, this is what has happened, partly so. And also, he also said that only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. So a scientist like Albert Einstein saying this, at the same time, Gurudev, a spiritual scientist, saying this, both of them are saying the same thing. We all study religion and try to put it in practice. Have you ever asked what religion should do for you? What should religion do for us? We want to be dharmic, but what do you think is the main focus? What is religion trying to do for us? What should it do for us? Anyone?
When we, Binaben, when you say religion, I think it doesn't translate very well. Dharma is in Jain Dharma itself is a way of life. So,
Okay, Dharma, yes.
yeah, so I think sometimes when we use the word religion, it becomes dogmatic in the sense that most people, when you say religion, they think of a creator God. And we as Jain Dharma, we know that, yes, there is a superpower there, but it's not a creator God. We've always existed and will always exist as a soul.
Okay, so the practice of Dharma, what should it do for you?
So the practice of Dharma is basically living the life, whatever we can, every day, living those principles that we individually can understand, however we understand. So everybody's understanding may be slightly different, but if we can even just take one thing, like live and let live, as Bhagwan Mahavir said, then we could live much better life.
Exactly. So it's talking about fostering goodwill, saru badanu, understanding each other, tolerance, African sanshita. It's gone sort of a little bit low now, but it says tolerance, love, sympathy. The qualities are to be cultivated through dharma, through practice of dharma. It's totally against religious fanaticism because it has done a lot of harm. And he talks about eliminating caste, barriers of caste, creed, status, economies, that those don't play any role. So we are all humans at the end of the day. We all look at each other as humans. And you know that in America, the racist, the black movement is because of this difference in caste, creed, status, economy. When we start looking at that, then we come up with fanaticism. Also, Gurudev says that we are very lucky. We are, compared to other species on this earth, we are human birth, 5 full senses, a brilliant mind. So he prompts us to sow the seeds of spiritual awakening, to remove the darkness of eons. A condition when man conquers death and attains immortality. He stresses that our birth, human birth, the main aim for human birth is to achieve spiritual awakening. In no other birth can we do that. So human birth is very special for this. And he says that man is at crossroads. Man crossroads ma hoy એટલે 4 sections hoy. Either he can become an animal, he can become a god, or he can become a super god. One thing he states is that know yourself, mend yourself. All the negativity within us, we need to mend it. We need to repair it. And he says, cleanse yourself. So our emotions, our feelings need to be cleansed. And then only you can perfect yourself and become God or super God. In different ways, Gurudev explores guiding principles of life, as you said, the breath of life, namely ahimsa, truth, aparigraha. He says we all have the powers of all these great men ever born. જે મહાવીર ભગવાન પાસે power હતો, we have the same. આપણી પાસે છે, but it is very dormant. We haven't manifested it. He says Mahavir Bhagwan manifested it 100%. Even we can do it because it's the same. All our souls are the same. So we can do it. If we put our faith and determination, we can do it. Another thing he says is that he asks us to practice more than we preach. He says the book of life is always more effective. So it's very important. Okay, whatever we want to put into life, we start practicing it. Let me share some examples with you. Okay, how do you welcome a guest? In case I come to London to your house, how are you going to welcome me? I need to know before I decide to come. Anybody?
My doors are always open. You're welcome anytime.
And then are you going to do my swagat and all that? Whatever you do.
I'll stand with an Aarti Nithari at my door and do this whole thing. In this series, I
think Binaben will be giving you a warm jacket when you come as well.
Yeah.
And your
I'll
clothes.
come next summer.
The scarf.
And gloves and snow boots.
Okay. Thanks. You're really welcoming. I intend to come now. Now he's here. Sorry.
Offering you a hot cup of tea.
હે બીનાબેન
I'm
બીનાબેન
coming.
તમે આવો પછી 5 જણા બીજા લઈ આવો તો શું હાલત થાય
કાંઈ હાલત થાય સમય જાય
પ્રોબ્લેમ થઈ જશે પ્રોબ્લેમ થઈ જશે 5 જણા આવશે તો
many to accommodate everybody.
5 ને 10 લઈ આવશો તો એ સમય જશે ઘરમાં.
Good. So આમાં એમ કે છે
That's good.
કે જેમ તમે ગેસ્ટ ને વેલકમ કર્યું આપણે જોઈને તો વેલકમ કરીએ છીએ પણ સોરો do we welcome sorrow?
Sorry, repeat that question.
Sorrow.
It says that joy and sorrow are both your guests. આપણે જોઈને તો કેટલું વેલકમ કરીએ છીએ but what about sorrow?
That's
જ્યારે દુઃખ
welcomed as
આવે
well.
હા
That would be welcomed as well, but it depends on how you welcome it.
કેમ how? જેમ જોઈને વેલકમ કર્યું એમ sorrow ને વેલકમ ના કરે
We are not prepared to welcome sorrow, unfortunately. Emotionally and internally, we are not prepared at all.
Exactly. So he's saying, okay, welcome sorrow as you welcome joy. On whose invitation has it come? કોને આમંત્રણ દીધું તું સોરોને?
આપણે જ દીધું હશે ને
આપણે દીધું હોય તો can it go to the neighbor's house?
No.
It has to come to you.
Yes.
Whether you laugh or weep, it is your guest. And he says, remember, it is always honorable to be cheerful rather than unhappy before your guest. તમને ભલે આટલા દુઃખમાં હો, but even if a guest comes, you have to put on a face. You have to put on a cheerful face. So he says, welcome joy and sorrow as your guests. A બહુ જ important છે. પછી કહે છે એક બીજો એક્ઝામ્પલ બ્યુટીફુલ એક્ઝામ્પલ દે છે એ કહે કે બે જાતનું ટેમ્પરમેન્ટ્સ હોય there are two temperaments. એ કહે એક dog temperament હોય અને lion temperament હોય. Now let's say you hit a dog with a stick. So what the dog will do will catch the stick. And if you hit a lion with a stick, which you're not going to do, but this is just an example, the lion will run after you. It will not even bother about the stick. What do you think this is trying to show us? Any suggestions? The dog does not distinguish between what is the cause and what is the instrument. He is only catching the instrument, whereas the lion will go after the cause. So આપણને બી કહે છે કે ગમે તે state હોય, discover the cause behind the action. જે ignorant હોય, he angry thase. For example, somebody tells you something, so you will get angry with them, you will blame them, you will do whatever. But જે enlightened person હશે, જે આ path ઉપર હશે, જે સાધક હશે, he will look for the cause behind that anger. Or why did it happen? And why did it happen to me? Because I am responsible for that. Yeah. When you don't like anything, what do you do?
When you don't like anything, you just sort of try and avoid it.
We blame, and we blame.
Yeah. You avoid it, you blame, and you want to, what he says is you want to escape from it. So what he says is that you will still find the world around you, the same world. Whatever you're trying to escape from will still be there. So the best thing he says, change your attitude. And he suggests that be lotus-like. Drain the poison of attachment. જ્યાં attachment હોય, અહીંયા problem થાય. કાં તો રાગ થાય, કાં તો દ્વેષ થાય. Hatred થાય or aversion થાય or like or attachment થાય. So આવું બધું થાય તો stay away from this. Stay like a lotus. Use everything, but બધું વાપરવાનું, but in the spirit of detachment. Extremely powerful, but very difficult to practice. Very difficult. But this is the practice. And then only એટલું દુઃખ ના થાય, and you will not need to escape from anything. You will not, there will be nothing that I don't like this, I don't like this. You will be fine everywhere.
I think દુઃખ આવે ને તો ત્યારે આપણને એવી રીતે એટીટ્યુડ રાખીએ કે આ મને મારે સુધારવા માટે આવ્યું છે, મને કંઈક શીખવાડવા માટે આવ્યું છે, then only we move forward. ને ચેલેન્જ છે તો how do we overcome this challenge? I would look at it like that.
એ બરાબર છે ભાનુબેન, but also he's saying કે equanimity ક્યાં વધારે જરૂર છે? દુઃખમાં વધારે જરૂર છે કે જોયમાં વધારે જરૂર છે?
દુઃખમાં.
Yeah, he's saying in joy. But કેમ કે બધું વસ્તુ હોય, then you become very egoistic, very proud, very this and that. Then it's more necessary to be equanimous in joy, or when you get everything.
Yeah,
That's what you will discover in the book.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
I mean, that's really interesting, Beena, because આપણે જોઈએ તો દુઃખમાં attachment આટલું બધું હોય. That's why we keep on brooding over it, thinking about it, never wanting to forget it.
Attachment હોય જ છે, દુઃખમાં એ હોય છે ને સુખમાં એ હોય છે. But he's saying કે જે સુખમાં જે attachment થાય છે ને એની વધારે alertness હોવી જોઈએ. You will discover that. Another thing he says that any change you want to bring about in your life to come, Sandeep, what is the prerequisite?
Sorry, say that again. No?
Whatever change you want to bring about in your life, what is the prerequisite for that change to come?
You have to change yourself.
When? In future?
No,
Practice
immediately.
every day. Every moment.
Effort and awareness.
Present moment માં જે change લઈ આવો તો future માં એ change થાય.
Yeah.
But I want peace. So
sorry, can I just interrupt you? Sorry. So, you know, this Aki book requires one person to have that level of insight within oneself. Okay, there are these issues with myself, with how I perceive the world, and I would like to change it. Isn't that the beginning of you know, the starting position? Okay, when you acknowledge, okay, not a problem, but when you acknowledge that there are shortcomings in the way you see yourself, in the way you see the world, in your state of being, and where you want to go, as opposed to just existing in this earth, on this earth, then only you can progress, can't you? Doesn't it?
Yes. That first awareness has to come. કે હું અહીંયા શું કરી રહ્યો છું, મારું આ life સેના માટે છે, what is my purpose in this life, where am I heading to? All this must be, at least one of the chapters is on sadhana. I'm coming to an overview of the book. So one of the chapters is on sadhana, and it's telling you can make your purpose straight, be very clear of your purpose. And he gives another example there, that a painter hoy, and can paint karvu hoy, he has got canvas and paints, but how is he going to start? He has to have a picture in his mind what he wants to paint. A sculptor, before he puts his chisel on the stone, he has to know what sort of statue is going to make. And even an illiterate villager who is a potter, એને બી ખબર હોય એના માઇન્ડમાં કે કેવું ઈ pot બનાવવાનું છે. તો આપણે human being living this life, don't we have an idea કે મારે શું કરવું છે, મારે ક્યાં જવું છે? He's very clear on this. Your purpose, your aim has to be very, very clear.
Beena, most people's aim is about material things. This is what I want to achieve in my profession, in my education, or whatever, or in my prosperity. That's how our aims are. And I know he's talking about spiritual aim, because this is the only life we have where we can do something about, well, this is the life we have where we can do something positive about our own soul. But I'm just bringing in the reality of that most people will be, our direction will be around ame ketlu kari sake to make our lives comfortable.
બરાબર છે. The thing is કે material focus થોડુંક જોઈએ, પણ બધાની વાત નહીં કરવાની with this book, because it focuses on you. તમારે શું કરવું છે? તમને સમ્યક દર્શન પ્રાપ્ત કરવું છે તો તમે કરો. તમને આ material desires ઓછી કરવી છે તો do it, because this is the only birth you will be able to do it. And at the time of death, nobody else is going to come with you except your karmas. So આપણે કેટલા ઓછા કર્મ કરીએ એ આપણે સાથે લઈ જશું. Attachment ઓછી કરીએ તો detachment સાથે જશે. The attachment જ સાથે જવાની છે. So it's up to us. આપણી પાસે enough energy છે, enough knowledge છે to do this thing. So let's do it. So it's on you. It's on the person. Okay. Any other questions? Another thing he says that there is a farmer and he plows his field and he sows his seeds. He waters, he manures, he guards, he supervises. But the sprouting is not in his hands. It's in the hands of nature. So what is it trying to show us? At a very simple.
Interdependent.
Sorry?
We are interdependent.
Interdependent. Biju?
Whether the seed has the capability to sprout or not.
Yeah. So you do your best, but you leave the rest, sort of thing. Like you put it as much effort to do what you want to, but the fruit or it's not in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
Bhagavad Gita no message છે ને આ નિષ્કામ કર્મ.
Exactly, nishkam bhav. So what he's saying is do your duties. The farmer is plowing the field, sowing his seeds, watering, manuring. It is his duty to do this. But the sprouting is in the hands of nature. In a hatma nathi. So do your duties with sincerity, with honesty, with a sense of responsibility. But the reward is not your concern. It will come as it wants to. So apri duty, apri karvi joy. If we have to serve people, we serve people with all responsibility, with all sincerity, with all honesty. Pachi jenu fruit avanu hase e avse પણ સારું જ આવશે એમ કહે છે. Another important thing he says કે જો success જોતું હોય ને તો work for success, not for fame, but don't do it half-hearted. Put your full interest, your faith, your love, your devotion, your intelligence, your energy behind. તો success મળશે. તમને આપણે બધાને મોક્ષે જવું છે ને તો મોક્ષ જોતો હોય તો હાફ હાર્ટેડલી નહીં થાય. એટલે એક પગ સંસારમાં અને એક પગ આધ્યાત્મમાં એવું નહીં થાય. Unfortunate. This is the way. Another thing, do we speak first or our heart speaks first? શું બોલે? આપણે બોલે કે હાર્ટ બોલતું છે?
હાર્ટ.
કોનો હાર્ટ બોલે છે?
મારો.
અને કોના વર્ડ્સ બોલે છે ને કોનું કાંઈ બોલતું જ નથી. તો કે છે કે જેનું હાર્ટ ફર્સ્ટ બોલે ને એ ગ્રેટ પર્સન હોય. જેની ટંગ પહેલા બોલે પછી હાર્ટ બોલે તે કોમન મેન હોય. અને જેની ટંગ બોલે પણ હાર્ટ ના બોલે એ તો મીન જ હોય. Beautifully said. And the last thing I will share is who is superior, man or circumstances, or what is superior?
Man, because he's got a soul.
Man is superior because he can mold his circumstances. Circumstances game teva hoy, bad or good, but it is for man to mold his circumstances to reach his aim. So Amarvani is basically divided into 7 chapters, and each chapter has sub-chapters. The first chapter is on universal good, and it will address how to make our transient life true, good, and beautiful. Second is on life. It gives you a very strong purpose to life. The third is on sadhana. Sadhana means discipline, means penance. What should we do? So he gives a true picture of a true devotee, of true devotion, of worship, of knowledge, of renunciation, of feelings. And the crux of the sadhana, he says, is introspection. And the journey is, of course, from ashubh to shubh to shubh, from negativity to positivity to purity. Another important thing he says in sadhana is that whatever you study must be in consonance with your inner soul. Jo apani atmanu dharma karvu hoy, agar vadhu hoy in atma, then we must study that thing which is in consonance with atma. Biju badhu study kariye, it will not help us. And another important thing he says that rituals should make us humble and pure, and must help us in self-realization and purification. એટલે બહુ જ ઘણું બધું કીધું છે સાધનામાં. That's the 3rd chapter. 4th chapter is on Shraman Sanskriti. આપણે બધા Shraman Sanskritiમાં we belong to that. Jain Dharma and Buddhist Dharma belongs to Shraman Sanskriti. Shraman Sanskriti emphasizes that you have an ability to be God, and also the place of actionism or purusharth. what role Purusharth plays in order to achieve being God. The 5th chapter is on dharma and adharma. Very, very beautiful clarification. Fundamental differences are given. Dharma su and adharma su. And it guides you completely on how to develop your character, as well as knowledge and rituals. And his 6th chapter is Society and Association, where he empowers women. He talks about women empowerment and education. Education, beautifully kiduche, what really is education? Everybody must read this. And the 7th one is on straight pearls, where he takes aphorisms, different aphorisms from scriptures, and he explains that. Beautiful book છે, તમને બહુ જ મજા આવશે વાંચવાની, discuss કરવાની, and everybody should do it. So I hope that you're inspired and eager to start Amarvani, to study it. I wish you all the best. And thank you once again for listening so patiently. And a big thank you to Sandeep for having asked me to do this. Amar Muniji, એક મિનિટ, અમર મુનિજીનો આશ્રય વિરુદ્ધ કંઈ બી કહેવાયું હોય, બોલાયું હોય, સમજાયું હોય, સમજાવાયું હોય, તો તત્સમ ઇચ્છામિ દુઃખમ. Thank you. Yes, you may ask.
Is the book online, or can we? How can we acquire it?
Ansebin, I will share it on our thing. It is available online, but I will share the link so that you can read it, right? Bina, I have a question. You know, we talk about adhyatma ne કે આપણે એ રસ્તા પર ચાલવું જોઈએ ને આપણને આ એક જ મનુષ્ય ભાવ મળ્યો છે અને આપણને અત્યારે ખ્યાલ આવ્યો છે, આપણને મહાવીર સ્વામીનું શાસન મળેલું છે, તો પણ ઘણી ફેરે મને એમ થાય કે ધર્મની જરાય જરૂર નથી આ સંસારમાં, બીકોઝ આપણી આગળ બધી અમેનિટીઝ છે. You know, we are comfortable in our lives. We have nice houses, nice cars. In London, we are all now being vaccinated. So, you know, all the facilities that the government provides will provide. And really, education is free up to a certain level for most people here in this country. So then why do you need religion?
તો પછી કિન્યા આવવું જોઈએ ને, કિન્યા જ રહેવું જોઈએ.
હું તો આવી જાઉં કાલે.
આટલું બધું સારું લંડનમાં છે તો મોક્ષની શું જરૂર છે?
Exactly.
This is an inner seeking.
London is moksha છે ને?
Sorry?
London is moksha છે ને બધા વાસ્તે. અમે તો લંડન જ રહેતા હતા, એટલે હું એમ કહું છું લંડન જે રહેતા હોય એલા વાસ્તે મોક્ષ જ હશે ને લંડન.
પણ અમને કોઈને મોક્ષ નથી જોતું, લંડન વાળો મોક્ષ. We want the આધ્યાત્મિક મોક્ષ. That is more important. આમાં સંદીપ એવું છે કે it's an inner seeking. એવું નથી કે આટલું બધું હોય. You just, there is an inner gap, inner lack which comes about, and then you start seeking. ભલે બધું હોય, but still, આ મહાવીર ભગવાન પાસે પેલેસમાં રહેતા હતા. He was born a king, he was born a prince. બધું હતું. Despite that, એને થયું કે this is not me, this is not enough for me, I need to seek myself. So it's an inner calling. ભલે ને બારે ગમે તેટલું હોય, it's an inner calling. I think.
Thanks, Bina. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? People, please ask. This is your only opportunity to grab hold of Bina and cross-examine her. Put her to test, please.
Yes, do that.
I don't know if it's a question or but one of the things which you mentioned, how would you accept joy and sorrow? Now I'm thinking that, you know, like London, we've got badi sukh suvidha badi chhe, but that is all external. It's all joy external. And external sukh suvidha જ્યાં સુધી હોય ત્યાં સુધી there's no spark of going inside. Is that true? કે જ્યારે આપણને દુઃખ આવે, you know, like, you know, we're all inbound અત્યારે, and we feel, oh my God, it's a disaster, where, you know, we can't go out, but, you know, for somebody, it'll be really sad. That's when you start thinking about, you know, that's a spark which is in you, and you start looking inside. Is that true? કે sorrow હોય ત્યારે that spark is even, the lightness is more.
Sorrow ma થાય, because then you start looking for answers, you start looking for came out you and all that. So sorrow can spark the answer, can spark or ignite a flame within, and you can start looking for this. But to make it sustaining, joy ma bhi એવું થવું જોઈએ. Sorrow ma તો થાય, પણ joy ma bhi એવું થવું જોઈએ. Because joy is also temporary, sorrow is also temporary, and the soul is permanent. So the soul will always seek something which is permanent. A joy and sorrow, the soul wants to go beyond that. So it has to be a seeking which comes from within, whether joy or sorrow. But as you're saying, starting my sorrow, probably the journey can start from there. Yes.
And that is the circumstances which makes a human change. You know, the second, I think one of your last question was, okay, who is greater, human or circumstance? So in this instance, is the circumstances which has made a man or human change?
Circumstance which has made a man, sorry?
You know, change.
Yeah.
Okay, the man can mold the circumstances and accept happiness, sorrow. But okay, sometimes circumstances become superior, and they would make a person change. And then, you know, in going forward, a man becomes superior and can handle the sorrow, okay, joy in equanimity, the same way.
Yes,
Is
as
that
you're
correct?
saying. Yes, as you're saying. Yes. Image time. Barabar. Any other questions?
Bina, can I make an observation? If you are dukkha, in sorrow, to such an extent, I'm now thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of need. You know, when you're struggling for food and you're struggling for shelter, you actually don't have time to think about adhyatmic development. Do you? Yeah.
You're struggling. But jare આટલું બધું આપણું settled છે. હવે તો
like
કંઈ
our
કરવું.
situation, yes. Yeah, our situation is different.
Yeah. Thank you, Raslabin.
Time always says ne કે તમે સેવા કરો because you are trying to help people who are in need, who do not even have the basic necessities to survive on this earth. And once you satisfy that, then you can preach about Mavi's teaching. So when she went to Rajgir, her first act was to try and organize some sort of education to basically educate the children who will be the adults of the future, so that their lives can be improved. And once that happens, then only can you teach them Mavi's teachings, you can teach them our scriptures, you can teach them everything else. Because once their needs are satisfied is when things can start changing. Isn't that the case?
Very true. Yes, that's the way it is. Yes, true. Any other questions? I hope I did justice and you're inspired. Are you all inspired to do the book?
Yes.
Good. Yes. Enjoy your reading and studying, and the important thing is implementing. Shall I do Chattari, Sandeep?
Wait, before you go, Bina,
yes.
I'd just like to thank you. Okay,
3 hours ahead.
It's 12 o'clock, it's midnight in Nairobi, and you stayed up late for us. So thank you very much, Bina, for your wonderful, introduction to this wonderful scripture, or rather book by Pujya Gurudev. And really very, very nice session, very interactive. And I hope je bolta na tai bada sui na gya hoy, but I'm sure they are not. And we will probably call you again, but this is a very wonderful thing. And I'm as I said, for me, you are like up there, and I look up to you so much.
It's good.
Not probably, you should definitely call her again. I think it would be very good.
Kilapiji Maharaj calls her a little Sadhviji.
A mini Sadhviji, yes.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure being with you. It was very nice and I enjoyed myself. Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you, Bina.
Same here, Panabin.
You can now, let's close with the Manglik, please, Bina.
Okay. Chattari Mangalam, Arihanta Mangalam, Siddha Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, केवलिपन्नतो धम्मो मङ्गलं चत्तारि लोकोत्तमा अरिहन्ता लोकोत्तमा सिद्धा लोकोत्तमा साहो लोकोत्तमा केवलिपन्नतो धम्मो लोकोत्तमो चत्तारि शरणं पवच्चामि अरिहन्ते शरणं पवच्चामि सिद्धे शरणं पवच्चामि साहु शरणं पवच्चामि केवलिपन्नतं धम्मं शरणं पवच्चामि. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Close the session. Sorry, can you please just hang around? Next week it's half term, so there won't be a class, and so we will resume the week after. And please check your emails because there are loads of announcements. There is, of course, the ongoing classes being done by Virayatan in Rajgir, and so many lectures, wonderful, wonderful lectures happening. So please participate in those as well. Thank you. Are there any other announcements, guys?
I think that's it, Sandeep bhai. You have said about
Sorry,
the next week half term. That's fine. And Sadhviji Shilapiji is, I think, resuming her Bhagavad Gita classes again, right? From following Sunday?
From the 21st of February.
Correct, yes. So yeah, please do join in. And just wanted to add my thanks to Beena Ben for a wonderful start to the Gurudev's Amar Vani. Like obviously from the text and what we know of Gurudev, he was a very revolutionary thinker of his time, and I think he is probably the one of the rare ones who said that seva is also going to lead you to moksha. You know, seva is also part of religion rather than just doing the rituals. And I think so is Taima teaching us that, because otherwise most of us just believe religion is all about, like as Bhanuben was saying, that just humara atma nu kalyan kari lo, okay, it's just all about me. And that kind of feels like it's a very selfish religion. Even I used to have these questions before meeting Taima. But then now it seems like almost like you live your life in seva, you live your life humbly and simply, and moksha is almost like a byproduct of all of this life well lived. So
Very well put. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Beena Ben, and we look forward to continuing this with Ketan Bhai in 2 weeks' time. Jai Jinendra, everyone, and stay safe and happy Valentine.
Happy Valentine.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks' time.
Happy Valentine's. Please be happy.
You're always happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष